It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, welcome everyone, and thanks again for joining us on The Sam Lesante Show. We're continuing on the Schuylkill Chamber of Commerce TV series. Today's show is going to be extremely important for everybody, particularly Schuylkill County, but I'm here with Bob Carl, who is the president, CEO, executive, owner, king, whatever, sovereign leader. It's nice to have you back again, Bob.
Thank you, Sam. Welcome to the chamber.
Let's get right to the point. We have an important guest today.
We do.
Okay. He told me I had to salute him when I came in, but I did salute him. He's been around a while, but Senator Dave Argall is with us today. What's the purpose of Dave being here today?
Well,
one of the purposes.
Well, there's several, but we have an awful lot going on, and Senator Argall chairs up the Senate State Government Committee, and therefore his leadership role in this particular year will be congressional redistricting. We're losing one of our congressional districts in Pennsylvania due to the census and shrinking population, and therefore we have to reduce one congressional seat, which means the state is going to be redistricted, and Dave's committee in the Senate is heading this process up. It's extremely important, and from Schuylkill County's perspective, the Chamber will be leading an advocacy group of all different organizations, and our message is going to be that we want Schuylkill County to remain in one legislative district as a whole. In other words, all of Schuylkill County in the redesigned legislative district. We've been really blessed. You and I have talked a couple times about our relationship with Congressman Muser, and we're very happy with the advocacy and representation of him. But most importantly, we believe that Schuylkill County needs a leader who will represent all of Schuylkill County. And I've talked to Senator Argall about that, and he feels that's an important aspect. In fact, part of the template that he's working on in redistricting is going to have these kind of geographic boundaries as part of the important criteria.
Very important for the people in Schuylkill County and surrounding areas. It affects their lives, all right? And that's one of the things we've been trying to stress with this Schuylkill Chamber of Commerce TV series, folks, that this is not only a chamber issue, but it's an issue for everybody concerned. And I know the chamber is very active, and this is one part of everything you guys do.
Well, you and I have talked several times. There probably is nothing more important than your representation in state and national government, in local government as well, county government. And at the end of the day, obviously, how elections are run, how congressional districts work, how the representation in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania works is so important. And we have seen over the last 2 years all the hullabaloo about the election process, because when the election process comes into question, not making any judgment of what is right or what's wrong, I think that's all going to come out in the wash. But when people question the election process, then one of their basic rights is in disarray.
I couldn't agree with you more. You know, Bob was a county commissioner, my friends, here at Schuylkill County, so he knows a little bit about government. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk to the senator. I got interesting questions, and I think you're going to be quite surprised to hear some of the things that we're going to discuss. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. SSPTV.com, 21 local neighborhood producing shows. Let you know what's happening in your neighborhood. And we once again appreciate the nice comments. Thank you for making us the #1 talk show in northeastern Pennsylvania. Appreciate it very much, and the great comments. Now I have here Senator Dave Argall. No stranger to anyone in northeastern Pennsylvania. Has been around for 37 years in the legislature, and you still look like you're 27 years old. So you must be taking some kind of pills that we don't know about. Only you know what you're taking. So what are you taking?
I wish it was that easy.
Dave, thanks for coming on this show. Before I get into questions, you're in 37 years, right? Okay. Why did you get involved with politics?
I'm an old Boy Scout, And literally, we learned about helping people every day. I took a summer internship with a guy by the name of Representative Bill Klingeman back in the 80s, learned so much about state government and what you can do to help people in places like Pottsville or Tamaqua. One thing led to another, and here I am.
Well, it's been an interesting career, okay? You've seen a lot of things happening, and after a couple of questions, I want to get into like what people are thinking, all
Sure.
right? I have to tell you an interesting story. And my friends, this is a true story. I'm not kidding, and so you Democrats, don't get excited, don't get nervous. I'm in Philadelphia with my wife and my son, and we're parked, and I have a sign on my car, Local News 13 in the front, right? And so an African-American gentleman was coming in. He says, "Oh," he said, "you were with the TV station?" Said, "Yeah, up in northeastern Pennsylvania." And he said, "Did you vote?" And I said, "Yes, I did." He said, "Well, so did I." I said, "Well, I'm glad to hear that." He said, "But let me tell you, I want to tell you an interesting story." True story. I said, "What's that?" He said, "I went to vote." Yeah? He said, "I saw that my two friends voted too." I said, "Well, that's good. I'm glad they voted." He says, "They're dead." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, they're dead." I said, "You're kidding me." He said, "So I asked the person there, I said, what's this?" "Oh, it must be a mistake, etc." Okay. He said, "So you know what I did?" I said, "What?" He said, "I changed my vote." Now, he didn't say who, what, but I changed my vote. So, you hear so much what's going on. I know you went through an audit, and so I think anybody who's voting just wants it to be fair. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, I think anybody out there, even Democrats, let it be fair. I don't know why anyone would get upset in saying, we want to make sure that these are fair votes. Why would you get upset, and why would you want to stop that? Then all of a sudden, to me, being around many years, red flags start popping up. So what was the purpose of the audit?
Basically, to get people just a little bit more trust in the system. I don't see anything wrong with looking back at last year and saying, did everything work just the way it was supposed to work according to the law in November? We can look at the May primary as well. Look at both of them. And Republican, Democrat, Independent say, look, I think the job of the House and the Senate is oversight over the Department of State. We believe that they did not follow the legislative intent on several laws that we've passed in the last few years. And so just as in other states, they're looking at what went right, what went wrong, I think that's what we should do.
Dave, it was told to me many years ago by a good friend of mine, Ethel Price. She was a county commissioner. She says, "Sammy, good politicians make for good government." And we need politicians. We need good politicians. And so here again, I'm stupid. I've been around so many years, but I think I get dumber every day. Why would you have opposition then for what you want? Why would there be opposition? I don't understand.
It's a great question. I feel sometimes with my new job, I'm now chairing this committee on state government for 5 months in the Senate. And so we look at election issues, we look at redistricting. I feel like I'm working in a room filled with gasoline fumes, and there are people running around flicking their lighters, okay? And so it's a very, very difficult issue. And distrust of government, I've taught a lot of college classes over the last 30 years. It's nothing new. Sometimes my college students will say, oh, well, look what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan, or growing up, Vietnam or Watergate. I'll say, read the Constitution, read the Declaration of Independence. Our founding fathers, for a lot of good reasons, never trusted the government all the way back in the 1770s. And so I know that with this new committee, I'm not going to solve all of our problems, but if I can fix 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 and make things better, I think that's a worthy goal.
Well, I gotta applaud you. And if you were a Democrat, I'd say the same thing. If it was reversed, it'd be the same thing. It just blows my mind to find out why people are, getting all upset. He won the election, okay, fine, but let's find out. When did the story? I just told you a story. Okay. The guy didn't lie to me. I didn't ask him to do that. And I said, that's unfortunate. He said, well, and then the mistrust that's out there, it's just like, it's sad.
Yeah.
You have a lot of senior citizens. You talk about veterans who went out, who are crippled today, who have suffered just so we could have the freedom. And yet we have people in Congress and we have people in the administration who don't have respect, in my opinion, for these veterans that helps sustain our Constitution.
Well, and we had a great example this week. For 10 or 15 years, we've been arguing about whether or not people should have to provide some form of identification when they show up at the polls. And so, we passed it once. The governor, the courts threw it out. We passed it again just this week. The governor vetoed it. But this time, we have a solution. Just as we think the governor was out of touch with way too many rules extending the emergency on COVID again and again and again until finally the voters spoke up, changed the Constitution and said, you can't do that anymore, Governor. We are, I believe, going to change the Constitution of Pennsylvania to provide so that people can just take a driver's license or some other form of ID and take it. It's not a radical thing. Try to check into a hotel sometime without one of these.
What is wrong with that? You have to give your license. It's the ridiculous thing sometimes.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is voting. I don't understand why they're saying that we're picking on people by having them show this form of identification. It doesn't. What do they tell you? Because maybe, again, I'm stupid.
I know, it makes you wonder if somebody's trying to cheat. And we believe that our law should make it easier to vote, but harder to cheat. Every registered voter should be able to vote, but only once. When my mom, who passed last year, was in a personal care home for several years, I would help her with her absentee ballot. She had to put down the last 4 digits of her driver's license in order for the vote to count. That's not a radical thing. We've been doing it for years, and yet to hear the governor and some of these people, you'd think it's the end of the world.
Before I get into the importance of redistricting
Yes.
and why that's important, okay? Look, I know the state was looking to help and protect the citizens of the state of Pennsylvania. Everybody was doing that. And you said probably the governor went a little bit too far, all right? What was the census in the Senate and the legislature about what he did and how he extended it?
With no complaints in the beginning.
Yeah.
That was an emergency. We had not seen anything like that in 100 years. But eventually the people that we represent said to us, enough already.
Yeah.
And the fact that, he's a governor. He's not a king. And so he refused to work with the House. He refused to work with the Senate. He refused to work with county commissioners. Eventually people said enough. Yeah. And that's why the Constitution was amended in May.
All right, now looking at, you heard Bob Carl talk about this importance
Yes.
of the redistricting. Tell us about why this is so important.
Well, every 10 years, and again, this dates back all the way to the 1700s, every 10 years we have to redraw the lines for congressional districts. And so there was an important court case in the 1960s. It essentially summed it up as saying one person, one vote. So you can't have a district in western Pennsylvania with 800,000 people electing one member of Congress and a district in eastern Pennsylvania with, say, 400,000. That is the way it used to be. The courts correctly ruled that's no longer appropriate. And so it's up to my committee this year to begin the process in the next few months of the new congressional map for the next 10 years. And the reason this is important in Schuylkill County, and Bob Carl in the chamber is developing, I think, a really good plan to help us with this. We don't want to get split up. It almost happened in 2002. It almost happened in 2012. The county would have been cut in half. Schuylkill County's not a big county. Can you imagine if people in Tamaqua had one congressman and the people in Hometown had another? Or think about St. Clair and Pottsville. And so it was a really ugly split. We fought back. It didn't happen. And it's my job this year, working with the chamber and a host of other groups, to make sure that we stay in one piece for the next 10 years in our congressional district.
I don't think, my friends, that you know the importance of what he's talking about, because we have that in Hazel Township.
Sure.
The split in Hazel Township.
It's an ugly split.
And it's terrible. Okay, so you don't know who to turn to, whether you go to Toohill, you go to I can't think of his name right now. Gosh, the other representative, Jerry.
Yes.
Up there, and So here, keeping Schuylkill County as a district. So what do you have to do? I mean, what has to be done?
The state redistricting is very different. So for the Senate districts, for the House districts for the next 10 years, it's a bipartisan commission. 2 Republican leaders, 2 Democratic leaders. The courts picked a good choice. He used to be Chancellor of Pittsburgh. He's going to be the impartial referee. And so, he'll be the 5th member, the tiebreaker. So those districts will be drawn for the next 10 years by that redistricting committee. My committee, the Senate State Government Committee, along with all of my colleagues in the House and Senate, we have to pass a new law on the congressional districts. And so it's going to be bipartisan because we have Republican majorities in the House, Republican majorities in the Senate, a very Democratic governor. And so we're going to need to come together. And as Bob Carl has indicated, because our population did not grow as fast as other states, we're going to lose 1 member of Congress. So the remaining districts are going to have to get a little bit bigger. So we're going to have to draw a map, but I'm not looking to draw a gerrymander. I'm not looking to draw a donkey mander or an elephant mander. I'm looking to work with people on both sides of the issue and somehow this year come up with a new map.
And that's the problem.
I know it.
They're just trying to do it so the Republicans take over control. So you have Democrats upset with Republicans, instead of looking at the entire picture. Which brings me to the point, we talked a little bit about this, about the trust.
Yes.
Okay? You talk to most people today, and it's sad. I'm at the Laurel Mall in Hazleton, and sometimes if I have a guest coming on, I like to go out and talk to some of the people there and say, well, I'm bringing such and such on the show. What do you think? And they'll tell me what they think. I mentioned that I'm having you come on the show here at Schuylkill County, and maybe about 5 of the people I sat there, seniors, 4 of them, he's a nice person, he's there, and one of them, he's a Republican, okay? Which is fine. Like, all of a sudden, if you're Republican, you're bad. If you're Democrat, you're bad, okay?
It's the world we live in.
It's sad because people don't, before senators and congressmen, had debates, but yet they got along. It was a healthy debate. Today, you talk to some wackos, okay, and I say they're wackos, they don't want to hear anything. You live with that, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I've had people picketing my office up the street here in Pottsville, and that's their constitutional right. I just wish sometime they would sit down and talk to me rather than protest, because I think they might find out that we agree on more things than we disagree.
They don't want to know that, Dave.
No, of course not.
Because these people, I think, especially are paid, in my case, that I'm looking at, seeing, I think there's a lot of money behind these people. Go out and make as much trouble as you can and stir the waters, okay? That's what will be coming, okay? And so I applaud any politician, Democrat and Republican today, to sit and try to do their best they can, as long as they're trying to do the best they can. How do we restore that faith in the voters today, particularly to the state of Pennsylvania?
We're not going to be able to do it all at once. I think we just need to do it step by step by step. Old joke in Harrisburg, anyone who wants the whole loaf goes home hungry. Yeah. You need to do it slice by slice. One of the first bills that my committee reported out this year in regard to that neutral person on the redistricting committee, it passed unanimously. I worked very well with the Democratic chairman, Sharif Street from Philadelphia. His district's very different from mine. In Schuylkill County, almost every single precinct voted for Donald Trump. I bet you in Senator Street's district, none of his precincts voted for Donald Trump. We still found a way to agree to begin to change that process. And so I think it's like the Boy Scouts call that learn by doing. And it's a step-by-step process.
What do you see happening in the state of Pennsylvania? And I hope you're right, because I think the most important value is that so many people have died in this country for us to go and vote. And it's just sad when you see some of the things and you hear some of those stories, Dave. I'm sure you hear them quite often, okay? What are some of the concerns, other than the redistrict, that you see facing us within the next year or two?
I hope someday we find a way to fix the property tax issue. Mm-hmm. I've been working on that forever. Yeah. We got it to a 24-24 vote, and the lieutenant governor voted against us. Since that time, I've lost a couple of votes. Some of the senators who were with me left. couple of them were defeated in elections, and so they're no longer there to help me. And so I've told people, you could have the best idea in the world, but if you don't have a majority of the House and Senate and a signature of the governor on the bill, you've got nothing. And so it's like pulling that big rock up the hill, and we work at it every day. And someday we're going to figure it out. But it's been just very difficult, because while I can't go anywhere in my district in Schuylkill and Berks County without somebody talking to me about property taxes, other senators tell me my constituents don't care. That's a problem.
That's a big problem.
Yeah.
That's a big problem. You remember a guy by the name of Governor Rendell?
Very well.
I remember hearing when the casinos came.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is going to be the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
We're going to get rid of this. We're going to get rid of that. We're getting rid of this. It never happened.
Yeah. At best, we bring in about $1 billion. It's the highest tax on casinos in the country. Now, $1 billion is nothing to sneeze at, but we bring in more than $14 or $15 billion in property taxes. So people get a little cut on their property taxes. Seniors, low-income seniors might get a little bit more, but it's not nearly enough. And that's why I've been supporting a bill to completely eliminate the property tax. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to reform it. All those efforts have failed.
You think it'll happen? Dave?
I don't know. I'm never going to give up. The people that I represent have told me in no uncertain terms, don't give up on that issue.
And the school board's taxes, I mean the school taxes, and you have to have people, you need education.
Sure.
Before I end, I want to, we, Bob, Carl, myself, people, we have this accountability factor. Where do we get the accountability factor in government? When people are not doing what they do, and you have certain people that are only in there for personal agenda reasons, where's the accountability? Because in business, I have to be accountable.
Yeah, the founding fathers gave us an interesting system. The people have the right to choose every 2 years for the state Senate. For the state House. Every 4 years for the state Senate and governor. And while Winston Churchill, who saved England from the Nazis, maybe had the best quote about democracy, he called it the worst form of government ever devised by man, except for all the others. Yeah. And so we understand it's not a perfect system. Yeah. But if the people that we represent don't agree, don't expect the people in Harrisburg or Washington to agree. Yeah. I think we're reflecting those disagreements every day.
Getting to the community and getting input, as we're doing today, we're letting people know what's happening. Okay, how do people voice their concerns, whether good, bad, or indifferent? So they're, how do they voice concerns to you?
We get thousands of emails, especially since this audit issue picked up. Yeah. I mean, I'm hearing from people, not just all over the district, I'm hearing from people all over the country. But we read our letters, we read our postcards, we read our emails, and when I'm out walking my dog, people aren't afraid to talk to me, and that's a good thing. Yeah. That keeps me really in touch with what's going on.
As I said before, I applaud any politician, Republican, Democrat, there's a lot on the table right now. All I can say is I wish you good luck.
Thank you.
We in the media, I know SSP TV, there's no agendas here. I got to tell you, throughout the years, the last 4 years, I've been extremely disappointed in the mainstream media because they've been slanted, and it's sad. And if it were the other way around, I'd feel the same way around. It's just the lies that have come out in the last number of years that it's unbelievable, And when I see professional people who agree with that, I question myself, But again, what do I know? Over 5,000 shows I've done. I get stupider, I'm telling you. Every year, every week I do a show.
Well, my frustration is when something good happens, a lot of times the media ignores it.
Yeah.
That they only seem to want to put the disasters on page 1 of the paper.
Yeah.
And I'm told that's what sells newspapers. I don't know. I'm not in the business. No. But that helps to breed distrust of government.
You know what I've learned throughout the years in this business, working with Jack Palance and seeing a lot of people, etc. When you're reading an article, my friends, look at the person who is writing the article. That's the critical point. Look at the name of the person that writes that article and do a little history on that person. You'll be surprised, you'll be shocked sometimes to find out what that person who wrote the article. See, when people say, I read it in the paper, or I heard it on TV, that doesn't make it gospel truth by no means. But we're conditioned to that. Senator, thanks for coming on the show. So now we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with the leader here, the king, the sovereign leader, Bob Carl. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, 24/7 SSPTV.com. I want to thank you very much, folks, for the recent survey we've done in May, making the Sam Lesante Show the #1 talk show in northeastern Pennsylvania. Over 100,000 people watching us every week. And of course, we produce 21 local neighborhood shows. Appreciate the advertisers, sponsors. And remember, if you want to be a sponsor at sam@ssptv.com, be more than happy to give you the rates. You'll be very pleased. Bob, it was an interesting conversation with the senator.
The senator is a great leader, been in the legislature, beginning in the House for now 37 years, total in the legislature, 12 in the Pennsylvania Senate. And we're really fortunate to have his leadership, his seniority. And this is kind of how we get things done. The Schuylkill Chamber of Commerce, I believe, does a great job with government advocacy at all levels. But our relationship with Senator Argall and all of our state representatives is very, very critical so that our voice is heard in Harrisburg, and with Congressman Muser, so our voice is heard in Washington. Well,
it certainly is important, and I'm hoping the viewers got a little better idea what's happening. We got some interesting things happening in the near future?
Absolutely. We're going to continue, as we had talked about before, with our affiliates. We were just in the community of Tamaqua yesterday. We have 9 affiliate communities, and we want people to know more about those.
Okay. Thanks, folks, for joining us once again, 24/7 SSPTV.com. Comcast 190, 7 to 11 p.m. here in the greater Pottsville, Schuylkill County area. And, of course, from Sinclair up to Mountaintop, channel 13 and 513. And our Wilkes-Barre affiliate is on Saturdays and Sundays from 7 to 11 p.m. We'll see you next time.